Hello, it's Collette from the Sacred Rose Temple, and I'm here to give you this week's energy forecast. It's the 3rd of the 2nd, 2025, and we have been going through some really beautiful energies that are connected to Venus. And I shared about her last week and how that was impacting us all in the house of our relationships. It's really, really showing itself in relationship. And this week's theme is really the same, but a little more hyper focused on our relationships. We've got on the 4th of February Venus in transit with Aries. And this is really going to bring up lots and lots of thought and issues in our passion and our romance. And because Venus is super strong at the moment, her energy is really doing its thing. It means that we get to focus on relationships, not only just because we're making it conscious, but because actually things are coming up in our relationships that we can't avoid. Now, with Venus, we really like to focus on romantic relationship, but this does include relationship with friends, with family, with anyone. And so anything that I speak of can be applied to relationships in general, but it's definitely asking us to look into our relationships. And for me, that certainly is going to be a focus in all aspects, my relationship with family, mother, father, siblings, potential lover, friends. It can all really help me understand where I have been and the woundings around the way I related before. And then coming into a new space where I'm looking for deepening connections and connections that are, well, I've got a checklist because I've been working on this. And this is what I'm suggesting for you all is I want you to notice in which relationships that you are suppressing your voice. Now, that's not to blame them. It's to understand who is that matter in front of you and why do you repress in front of them. It's not about that person. It's about you. Maybe that if you speak out, you'll lose that person. Good. Maybe if you speak out, that person will act in a certain way. Maybe if you speak out, you have a fear that it might upset that person. The consequence is irrelevant here. And what's being asked of us is to actually realize where we're repressing and where we're not speaking out, where we're hiding our voice, where we silence ourselves, where we put up with things because we've got a fear of loss. We may have a fear of them being, you know, the behavior not being correct and us being affected by that. But like I said, that's irrelevant. What's important here is how am I speaking in front of the people I relate to? And do I repress? I think what we tend to do is we change. I wrote about the trickster energy this week, something I've been grappling with somebody who was in my life previously, and how certain identities in people or persona changes when they move to another person. So I try really hard and work very hard consciously on trying to be me, regardless of who I'm in front of. That's not to say that we don't adapt in certain situations. Of course we do. We adapt the persona dependent upon, whether it's a formal situation, a personal situation. But what we really want to look at is how are we adapting in all ways when we relate? Do we behave the same with our friends that we do with our lovers? Do we behave with the lovers the same do we do with our boss? Of course we don't. But where are we selling ourselves out? That's what we're looking for. Like, where do you know, condense myself? Where do I dilute myself? Where do I remain more silent? Where am I more subservient? Where do I feel better than that person or less than that person? And that's what we've got to observe in our relationships is are we able to remain ourself? And you need to have a sense of self. And I'm going to talk about that in a bit to be able to work deeper in this. I think what we're looking at really is our shadows as well in relation to relationships. Really noticing what we need to work on with ourselves. You know, big pieces for me, as you all know, this year has been really trying to deeply drop into a more feminine space and to be less masculine in the way I behave and speak. And I also found that sometimes impossible around certain people. Certain people will really trigger the masculine in me because I don't feel safe or they don't hold a masculine pillar, whatever it is. So I'm noticing how I'm engaging in relationships around people and then being in a more body embodied clear place that makes me realize actually, is this good for me? Am I learning from this? Because if we learn from it, then it's good for us. But is this actually weakening me, lessening me, making me diluted version of myself? So have a think about that in relation to who you relate with at the moment and those people around you. I think another aspect of relationship with energy and this, you know, her being in Aries is about you being dependent as well. Like if we've got a strong sense of self, we tend to be very independent. We can take care of ourselves. We know what we like. We know what we love. We know what we're into. We know what hobbies we like, what we like to do with our time. And if we enter in relationships where we drop into dependency, what we do is we lose ourselves and we begin to enmesh with that other person. We become like the other person in order to fit in with him. This is a great example of someone who has lost center of self. And we work on that person. We're more engaged and focused on that person than we are our own self. So, for example, we might really idolize someone and we think, wow, like she's really powerful and she dresses amazing and and we're so absorbed by that other that what we're not doing is looking at that energy and saying, oh, well, how do I embody that? How do I become inspirational? How do I dress so that I look like myself? What is the way I dress and how do I appear and want to appear? And really, what we start to do is we can get hyper focused on how we look because we're in a relationship that might condemn us if we do look what we want to look like. So we kind of adhere to somebody's manifestation, say, of what a woman should look like. I mean, I'm sure there's women on the call that can resonate with being with a partner that liked the certain type of woman, and then you try to merge yourself into that. That's lack of sense of self. If you like, there's a man who likes your legs to be smooth and you don't dare let them get hairy. It's a lack of sense of self and what you want. So I think this is, especially with this divine feminine energy wanting to rise, this is about knowing what you want, knowing who you are, and then being able to translate that in the right circumstances with the right people. And if you've got no clear sense of identity, then that's going to be a struggle with you and you will give away your power. You will interlace, enmesh, and spend more time focusing on somebody else than your own self. And I am not preaching from a soapbox here. I am very much speaking from my own experience and looking back and thinking, oh my gosh, why did I do that? Why was I so hyper focused on that person? Why did I lose my sense of identity? Why did I weaken myself? Why did I keep my mouth shut? And so this week would be a good place to look at that when you've done that and who you've done that with and why. And again, bringing any blame back to the self and taking ownership for those behaviors. It's this snake energy. Like we're in the year of the snake tonight. I'm so excited because I've got my snake class with the women who are about to embark on the whole of February in this snake energy. Because the snake energy, as the year comes in, and what I'm going to teach tonight is that there's a really deep sexual energy that lives in all of us as women, and it's highly potent for creativity, manifesting our life, standing in sovereignty. And the patriarchal society that we live in, that has been patriarchal because we hold that as women too, has tried to repress this energy within us, and we've bloody well helped them. So tonight's going to be a reclamation of that divine energy within us that is completely and utterly potent and personal and can really allow that divine feminine energy, the strong, fierce force that we are meant to be on this planet, to come through and take her position, role, and voice. So this is with the Venus energy paired with the Venus energy and this snake energy, we have got a deep catacomb of awakening for women. We have this whole energy supporting us, trying to bring us out of these condemning patterns, these weaker patterns, these patterns of losing ourselves, of not standing in our sovereignty and owning what we're about as women because we're flipping incredible. So it really is, it might feel a little bit difficult. I mean, I've had a whole week of relational things come up that have been made me very angry. They've made me very glad that all my situation has changed and they've allowed a new energy to come in my life that is what I'd been looking for. So yeah, I'm taking things really slowly in this new energy of me because I feel like I've changed. And I really want to focus on me and how I work through this and behave differently, become different from what I've experienced and what I've learned about relating. So I really want to come into this divine feminine snake energy. I want to use my sexual energy creatively and empoweringly. I want to help the world in some way. And I've got all new ideas and plans coming in for my future and what that might look like. And it's completely different to what it is right now. So I'm making preparations in light of this little clarity I've got that I'm holding on to. But I know things are going to change for me quite radically this year. And I hope that that happens on a main scale for women because it will show that we're moving, we are transcending, we are coming out of the old you into the new. And it's frightening. And teachers said this to me for years. You're not evil, you're not evolving in the same relationships, you're not evolving in the same towns, in the same houses, and with the same haircut, with the same clothes. It really is stagnancy when things are the same. And I'm a fixed sign. I'm a Taurus. I'm really like quite grounded and change can be a little bit uncomfortable for me. But I do have a great sense of adventure too. So I really try to drop into that and say, what needs to change? What looks the same in my life? What needs to evolve? How can it be different so that it shows that I've made an evolution of who I am as a woman, first and foremost, and then as a person. So focus on yourself about who you are. Who are you? How do you like to express who you are? So I always share this in my women's groups. Like I want my home to be an expression. You'll see pink and roses everywhere in my house and antiques and sacred objects. And it's because I feel like I want to use that sexual energy, that snake energy inside my body to explode everywhere over my home. My home is me. You can tell it's me. And the way I dress, I've got a certain signature. And, every woman should own this. What's my signature? How do I want to express myself in my environment? The way I speak, the words I use, certain people might say, oh, you could tell Collette said that because it's come from my personality. So the strength that we find in us is to be absolutely unapologetically ourselves, to love what we love, not be afraid to express it, know it, wear it, share it. And even if everybody else goes, oh my God, that's not for me, good. I'm glad it's not for you because it's me. And everybody else is taken. You're unique. Your individualism as a woman has to come through this Venus energy. It's demanding us to be in our raw, authentic selves. Who am I? What do I express? What am I like? How am I here to embody the divine feminine? And what do I do with that? So this is all really big kind of, energies that Venus entering Aries on February the 4th is about all of this assertiveness, your relationships, your creative pursuits come out of that knowing of the self. And then we've got Jupiter station direct in Gemini on the 4th. And this is about mental clarity. It's about having a clear vision and about effectively communicating that vision. and not holding back, sharing your ideas, sharing what you feel, even if you feel that might not be received well. Who cares? Share it. If it's not aligned, it'll move out of the way. So the alignment of Mars retrograde in Cancer, which is on the 9th, this alignment is supporting disciplined emotional insight, encouraging you to have practical steps towards emotional healing and personal growth. So I just want to say a little last thing on that. As the 9th comes up and we're looking at this Mars retrograde in Cancer, trining the Saturn in Pisces, we really want to think about the emotional discipline. Like, how are we moving through emotions? Are we using our emotions? Are we allowing them? Are we moving through them? Are we coming out the other side? And then are we taking the practical steps from what we've learned about ourselves to change our world? It's also about recognizing that you've got wounds. So for me, I'm currently taking the women on this Grail quest for the Shift Network, and it's becoming clear that we're a certain way into our heroine's journey on this Grail quest path, and what is holding us back. And I've made those acknowledgements within myself. My evolution has been in my masculine energy, and now it's time to come into more feminine energy and use that to power me through. There's also healing need to do with the mother inside split. And so I'm well aware of the things that need to work in me, and have a plan to, work with my psychologists and do some more embodiment or practices on that. So I want you to think of that. What's coming up for you? What's showing itself to you? Write it down. What is obvious you need to heal or evolve in? Write them down and start to make a plan towards them. Have you felt the emotion around it? Have you moved the emotion through? Have you got any clarity then about yourself? And then what spiritual practice or emotional work do you do around them? So this is going to be a very, very, very powerful week again. I'm loving this. This is why I knew I had to do these energy reports, because I could feel the energy really building in the collective. And listen, this year, 2025, there's going to be weeks like this after week after week after week. And it's not, I call it intense, and I'll go, whoo, when I come on these recordings, but really it's a divine opportunity. They are huge opportunities, like all the celestial beings and bodies and the creator and beloved and the planets are all going, we are trying to help you evolve down there on a collective level, on a planetary level, and on an individual level. And so we're going to bring up all that you've been hiding from, all that's been uncomfortable, all of you've refused to see about yourself, and all these power dynamics that live within you. And I mean power through love, that are ready to be born in you, so that the world changes and becomes more divine, more peaceful. We're all longing for this Aquarian age where it's all like in harmony, but that ain't coming until we've done the work. So be really grateful. Like, I'm waking up with stuff going on in my life, but I'm also waking up with gratitude, thinking, wow, how amazing is it to be alive in such a transformative time in our collective, and to be part of that, and not to sit back and just watch it and go, oh, world's a bit of a mess. Oh, we need to change. But proactively, as a woman, being one of the directions of change that can happen on this planet. That is powerful stuff. And you own that power within you. It's just whether you're doing anything with it. So if you want to do stuff with it, do all I shared in this forecast, and listen to the forecast every week, where I've really been devoted and sharing as much as I can to help you on that progressive journey of evolution, especially for women who find themselves on this divine feminine path where we are the change makers and the trailblazers. I've got your back. I'm with you. I'm walking this with you. And any insights that I get through the gifts that I've been given and harnessed, I want to share with you all. So I'd really love to see those of you that engage in these energy forecasts to join me for the Snake Month. I think this is going to be a super powerful portal. The women who have joined so far are powerhouses. So really, really looking forward to that. So I'll put the links for that under this video. I'll also put the links to the Patreon if you want to join me in my Patreon for daily updates on the energies and questions to help deepen you. Then the links under this video as well. But farewell this week and really find that divine feminine power in you. It might be hidden under a rubble of all kinds of things, but it's there. So take care and divine feminine power to us all.